Germany willing to invest in gas and critical minerals in Nigeria, says German Chancellor. African Development Bank's investments in Nigeria hit $4.4 billion, says Director General. LD says caution about data-heavy week offsets Mid-East war boost. Asia market mixed ahead of Japan's Bank of Japan's decision and South Korea inflation this week. The program is Business Express, reaching you from Abuja, Nigeria's capital. I'm Musa Abubakar, your guide. Let's begin the program by telling you that President Bola Tinubu has renewed confidence in his Chief of Staff, Femi Gbajabiamila, despite what the president described as a campaign of calumny on his personality. This was why declaring this Monday's Federal Executive Council's meeting open. The president was apparently reacting to an online media report alleging the Chief of Staff of misconduct. London Musbaud and Wahab reports that who received the German Chancellor Olaf Scholz over the weekend described the visit as a huge success. This is the first meeting after the president won the final case on his election. The Supreme Court and members of the council led by the Secretary to the government of the Federation, George Akume, congratulated the president on the victory. Now moving on, Nigeria and Germany have resolved to improve the trade relations between the two countries while also promoting democratic principles. This was the major fallout as President Bola Tinubu received German Chancellor Olaf Scholz, who is on a two-day visit in Nigeria.
Investments have to be taken looking at infrastructure, and it's not just about roads and railways. It is also about electricity, the infrastructure, using the grid, making feasible that all the produced energy, all the power that is already there could go to the people because the grid is making it. And finding a way how we can develop economy in this field will be also important.
Fighting terrorism, and that is improving. We still need very much support in that area. And for us to be able to sustain democracy, rule of law, and freedom for our people, we need to fight for democracy. And democracy must win.
Foreign exchange hoarders, speculators, as well as banks jittery as the Central Bank of Nigeria begins implementation of its Naira recovery plan. The CBN, in response to stem the free fall of the Naira, both the official Nigerian foreign exchange market and the unofficial market, has concluded plans to rescue the Naira. Investigations reveal that the Apex Bank is employing both orthodox and unorthodox measures to break the tide of volatility in the foreign exchange market. The bank noted that one of the plans by the CBN is to digitize foreign exchange transactions and discourage speculative demands and hoarding of foreign exchange, aside from discouraging speculative demands. The bank has also put in place an audacious plan to de-emphasize the dollarization of the economy by ensuring that goods and services are paid for in Naira. One of the things the government is trying to do is to look into tax as well as fiscal policy. And on the program today, we'll be taking a look at that. The Presidential Committee on Tax and Fiscal Reform has submitted their report to the President. Well, I have with me to talk more on that economic analyst Aliu Elias. You're welcome to Business Express.
Thank you for having me.
Well, first of all, I don't know whether I believe you must have gone through the committee's result or recommendations to the president, and part of it talked about multiple taxation. But what captured my attention most is the one that talks about the tax break for private sector amongst the recommendations, which a kind of tax break for increasing wage to low-income workers, providing transportation subsidies, and creating jobs. What do you make of this recommendation in particular?
Right. Thanks so much. I think it's quite timely to have this type of report, and we must commend the team led by Mr. Taiwo Ayodele and the president for thinking that this is a way forward to have a better economy. Having looked at the 20 recommendations, I think they are very, very good and very timely. Like we always say in Nigeria, we always have good recommendations, but implementation is what we want to see. And I'm convinced that the president have the political will to actually carry that out. But if you look at all the area mentioned, you see that the main aim, that what I can deduce from all these decisions is that there will be a redistribution of income. How do I mean? If you look at tax reform itself or fiscal policy, sometimes it's helped to redistribute income to society. So it's a good one, and I hope the state will also come to support the federal government, because if you look at it, they said they have about 190 tax that they want to deal with and manage 10. I wonder how that will work, because we have states that focus on that. Perhaps if you look at common man selling pure water on the street, sometimes he has to pay like 5 different tax, selling ordinary sachet water. If you also go to telecoms, you see that some telecom sector also pay about 40 different taxes. So if government can actually bring this to, if there can be unification of these taxes, I think that would be a good one from the federal government.
I think that's what they talked about, the harmonization thing of these taxes.
Right.
Well, how do you think will affect this move, as I said, on the private tax break for private sector? How do you think it will impact on cost of production for private businesses, as well as improve productivity?
Right, that has been demand of organized private sector over time, because when people come into business like this, they suffered a lot of things, and to balance. And most times, if you look at taxes, also crept into their capital, working capital itself. So if there's a tax holiday, it will make them to have that opportunity to grow to a certain level before they will start paying such a tax. I think it's a very good one, and it will also help our infant industry. You will see that even the AFCTA plan that is also coming, that Nigeria is going to key into very soon. If we can also give that tax incentive, tax holiday, and also this will encourage small businesses to compete favorably, because anything that will eat into your working capital, it has scaled the business itself. So I think it's a good one in the right direction.
Another issue is that of Forex, which is actually affecting almost everyone now. Well, a lot of us. One of the recommendations there is for a digital foreign exchange, which is a recommendation that that the process should be digitalized. What's your thought on that?
Like we mostly canvass for, it is not always easy to leave the issue of foreign exchange to maybe the people on the street, like maybe breed the change and whatever. There should be a way to monitor and manage the way our foreign exchange is being. So I think with that digitalization, government will have the idea of how much is in the circulation, and also manage, and perhaps by so doing they would have unified totally the FX, and the level of speculation would have also reduced, because our major problem is speculation. So these speculators have way of taking all this forex and keep it and be expecting to have a better day to expend this money. I think with that digitalization of it, to make it seamless for government to even manage, and perhaps if people want to pay through dollar or any foreign currency, it will be monitored and it will be captured maybe in the general analysis of how much is being expended in forex or how much is coming in. I think that's a good one, but I just hope, this is age of fintech, and in fintech anything can happen, so we must also have a way of monitoring the infrastructure itself, because it's not always giving out the policy. Do you have the requisite infrastructure to manage the policy you are bringing on board?
Because they also talked about mobile apps,
right?
FX mobile apps and things like that.
I think that is very good, because it will allow people to even have knowledge of how much and how things are big. I think that's is a very good one, because I'm sure they are on their recovery plan. That's for CBN. If they also key into this recommendation of this fiscal policy and tax reform committee, that would have been a better one, and we expect that will actually come out well. So we look forward to that reform itself.
Now, excise tax on FX transaction to generate revenue. When this affect the cost of FX?
Right. If you look at most transactions now, some of them are maybe avoiding, tax avoiding that duty itself. But if you can come to digitalize and make sure we unify this, I think we generate more revenue from those payments through foreign currency. So I think this is a very good way, and I must commend this committee that have done well. But my challenge now, as it is how are we going to implement all this? The FRS have to come on board to cooperate with this fiscal, because I want President Tinubu to go beyond, give them this tax, also let them see through the implementation. I believe of this
part of the committee, I think FRS is part of that committee.
Right. So we want to see it implemented. So because that's what really will really bring the maybe the result itself. Because if you have policy and it's not well implemented, that should be so I want them to continue to also see through this implementation of this good recommendation, as it were.
Now, another issue with what we are seeing in the inflation figures and the FX issues, there's also a recommendation on social intervention. The federal government has been advised to somehow implement VAT suspension and tax waivers. How do you see this improving the lives, the living standard of people, considering inflation and the FX issue and things like that?
It's a welcome development, because if you look at Nigeria now, things are very, very expensive. And if there could be VAT, maybe exemption for some items, I think that will, especially our energy, because if you look at energy costs, cost of electricity, cost of fuel, diesel, and what have you. So I think if government can also come into all this and identify what really will have a positive effect of the general masses of Nigeria and remove VAT, I think that would have helped to an extent, because everything also has to do with energy. So if they can really work on that sector, it will really tame the challenge of inflation, because the way the inflation is going now, and it's also food-related inflation. So if there could be tax VAT exemption on food related, such as the supply chain process, will be easier. People will access those. Perhaps if you want to bring a container of maybe onions from Kano to Lagos, you know how much it will cost. So if there could be a VAT or a way of really reducing this supply chain problem, I think that will help Nigerians a lot, and we could have things in the affordable price that we used to have it.
Now, you talked about your concern about implementation.
Right.
How do we get this thing right? How do we get these recommendations and put them into, implement them, get them working and doing the things that they are supposed to do?
Right. If you look at this committee, they constitute people that have worked in the organized private sector, especially the head of that the team. So I think if the president can also give them some opportunity also on the implementation side of it, that would have helped a lot, because they will not only implement, they will also monitor the agencies that are supposed to carry out this implementation and work hand in hand. Because I could see that Zakade Deji, the acting FRS boss, is also saying he's going to key into it. They are also expected to present to FEC, because implementation is the problem. Why it is not only in the federal government. You also have to go to the state government, to local government. You know, a pure water seller who is being charged about 5 tax, you know, in a day, it's not a federal government issue. It's a locality and community issue. So if you can monitor up to that extent, that will help, and that would have created another redistribution of income for Nigerian citizens.
Okay, thank you very much, Aliu Elias. Thank you for your time. Thank you very much.
Thank you for having me.
Moving on, the Director General, Nigeria's Country Department, African Development Bank, Lamin Barrow, says the bank's portfolio investment in Nigeria is one of the largest among the regional member countries, with a total commitment value at $4.4 billion. He stated this at the 2023 Country Portfolio Performance Review Workshop in Abuja. Justin Bem-Oyi reports.
The yearly Country Portfolio Performance Review Workshop, CPPR, provides a platform for the AFDB and Federal Ministry of Finance to jointly assess the performance and quality of the portfolio of bank finance projects in Nigeria for the sovereign operations. This year's CPPR workshop is the first under Tinubu's administration, and the AFDB's Nigeria Country Director General, Lamin Barrow, commends the federal government for its recent policy changes, such as the removal of fuel subsidies and the unification of foreign exchange rates. Barrow also expressed his satisfaction with the increased submission rate of procurement plans, which has risen from 72% to 82%, and the Federal Executive Council's approval of the Ekiti Knowledge Zone project.
We are also pleased that the share of startup delays has decreased from 32% of flag operations in June 2023 to 28% in October. And this is expected to reduce further to 8% by the end of December 2023, with timely and targeted actions for specific projects.
Meanwhile, the Nigerian government has commended the AFDB's partnership towards achieving national development priorities. Director of the International Economic Relations Department, Stanley George, however, confirmed there are challenges preventing seamless implementations of the portfolio.
That the portfolio of over $4 billion is a loan to be repaid by our children and grandchildren. The least we can do for them, for these children and grandchildren, is to ensure that these projects are implemented in a timely manner.
The CPPR is an interactive session underpinned by the principles of partnership and mutual accountability between the AFDB, the government, and where appropriate, the co-financiers.
Now, the Nigerian Upstream Petroleum Regulatory Commission has warned companies charged with the responsibility of supplying crude oil to private refiners to stick to the rules of engagement or face severe sanctions for sabotaging the economy. The warning comes as more private refineries warm up to commence operation in Nigeria. The Commission, in a statement, vowed to take all necessary steps within the prescriptions of the Petroleum Industry Act to ensure adequate and consistent supply of feedstock to operators. Now, oil prices slip $1 a barrel on Monday as investors adopted caution ahead of the Federal Reserve policy meeting and China's manufacturing data later this week, offsetting support from geopolitical tension in the Middle East. Brent crude futures dropped 98 cents to $89.50 a barrel, while U.S. West Texas Intermediate crude was at $84.54 a barrel, down $1. Both Brent and WTI ended 3% higher on Friday after Israel stepped up its ground incursion into Gaza, stoking worries that the conflict could widen in the region that accounts for a third of global oil production. Let's now see commodities. Let's now see how much the naira is exchanging for the currencies. And now to the capital market for a summary on how the stocks fared last week. Here's Olayinka Ojo with details.
All-share index and market capitalization appreciated by 0.33% to close last week at 67,136.58 basis points and 36.885 trillion naira. A total turnover of 1.446 billion shares worth 25.418 billion naira in 28,933 deals were traded by investors on the floor of the exchange. The financial services industry led the activity chart with 958.111 million shares valued at 14.371 billion naira in 13,270 deals. The ICT industry followed with 129.251 million shares worth 972.593 million naira in 2,722 deals. The third place was the conglomerate industry with a turnover of 95.634 million shares worth 662.545 million naira in 1,664 deals. A total of 20,749 units of ETPs valued at 1.353 million naira were traded last week in 75 deals. At the bonds market, a total of 42,264 units valued at 39.006 million naira were traded in 31 deals. Trading in the top three equities were Access Holdings PLC, Fidelity Bank PLC, and United Bank for Africa, and accounted for 447.283 million shares worth 6.568 billion naira in 4,877 deals. On summary of price changes, 39 equities appreciated in price during the week. 42 equities depreciated, while 76 equities remain unchanged. Olayinka Ojo for Business Express.
Now, Asia Pacific markets started the week mixed ahead of a week of key economic data from around the region. And Nneka Oko is standing by for more on global updates. Nneka, what's happening?
Hello, Musa. Asia Pacific market started the week mixed ahead of key economic data from around the region. Japan's Nikkei 225 slid 0.95% to end the day at 30,696.96. Hong Kong's Hang Seng Index also rose 0.04%, while the Shanghai Composite is topping 0.12%. European markets opened higher despite ongoing volatility in the Middle East, with investors keeping a close eye on the latest economic data out of Germany. Now, Germany's DAX rose 0.63%, UK's FTSE rose 0.78%, and the French CAC is up 0.78%. Stock futures also rose in the US this Monday as traders braced for a big week filled with a Federal Reserve rate decision. The Dow Jones Industrial Average futures rose by 191 points. S&P 500 gained 0.63%, and the Nasdaq Composite topped 0.74%. Now, African stocks like their Asian counterparts started the week in mixed territory. Namibia's overall index led gains in early deals at 0.8%. South Africa's JSE Africa Top 40 gained 0.68%, while Tunisia's Tun Index is down 0.27%. And that's Global Market Review. It's back to Musa.
Well, thank you, Nneka. This is where we end this edition of Business Express. We value your feedback, so keep the comments, observations, and suggestions coming. Be informed that all previous episodes are available on YouTube on the NTA's channel. Business Express returns Tuesday at 9:30 a.m. Thanks for your company.